All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Alonso here from synthwavedojo.com. Today, I'm going to show you how to take an 8-bar loop, or what I call a main stack, and turn it into a 40-bar mini arrangement that I call a Basic Kata. The Basic Kata is the second stage in the Synthwave Warrior's journey, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, refer to the video in the description. The Synthwave Warrior's journey is simply the way that I like to visualize or think of the path of going from Synthwave beginner producer to the Synthwave black belt advanced producer and the stages you go through along the way. The thing is that once you get good at creating 8-bar loops or main stacks, then you're ready to move on to the next stage, and that's where the Basic Kata comes in. Okay, so a kata in Japanese martial arts is a specific sequence of attack and defense moves that you learn. So it's very prescriptive. You're following a recipe. And the idea is that you use katas to practice balance, fluidity of movements, smoothness of your movements, preparing yourself for combat. So it's like I said, a sequence of attack and defense moves to prepare you for what's coming next. And this 40-bar arrangement that I call the Basic Kata follows a very specific structure. It's very prescriptive in the sense that it's 40 bars long. It consists of 5 sections. You have an intro, you have the verse or the groove, then a main section, then an alternate section or a bridge, and an outro. Very simple. We keep it very simple so we can work on it very quickly inside an hour, maybe 2 hours. But it is very constrained in the sense that you can take your 8-bar loop and create it into a 40-bar arrangement, turn it into a 40-bar arrangement easily and practice that skill. Alrighty, before we start, just a couple of announcements or ads here. I'm currently working on a Synthwave Basics online course where I'll cover drum patterns, bass patterns, pads, chords, arpeggios, melodies, all of that great fun stuff. If you'd like to know more about it, visit the link in the description of this video. And if you haven't done so, visit synthwavedojo.com/events, where you will find our events calendar. You'll find live streams and any public events we are currently hosting. You can sign up on that page to receive email alerts whenever we add a new event. And you can also add any of the events there to your calendar of choice. Cool, so let's get into the heart of the matter. All right, here we go. I created this main stack that we're gonna work with today, I think like over a year ago. Hey Alex, hey Jerome, Phil. Great to have you here, guys. Synthwave Dojo, community members in the house, represent. And like I said, I created this main stack over a year ago when I went through a period where I created one main stack a day for 30 days, like 30 days in a row. I called it my 30 in 30 challenge. So it's been a while, and yesterday I was just opening up this project and just doing some cleaning tasks, and it's been a while since I've listened to this music. In any case, we're gonna take this 8-bar loop or main stack, and during the next hour, turn it into a 40-bar arrangement. And like I mentioned, this is our skeleton or the blueprint for our arrangement. It will consist of 5 sections, each 8 bars long. We're going to start with an intro, a verse, then a chorus or drop, however you want to call it, a bridge or an alternate section, and an outro. And we're going to focus on very roughly creating the arrangement and then working some stuff to make it or to turn it into a cohesive and enjoyable enjoyable journey for the listener. Okay, so first things first, let's listen to what we have here. This is our main stack. Okay, this is very simple stuff. We have some drums playing 16th note hi-hats, a bass line doing a typical 16th note rolling bass kind of pattern with some sidechain compression or volume shaping. We have this melodic element, which I don't consider a true or formal melody because it's just like a looping melodic element. There's no start and end. There's no journey inside this melody. It just gives us that impression of being a melody. But it will work just fine for our music today. And then we have this pad, which is very simple. Oops, not what I wanted there. Just 3 notes, and they change towards the end of our progression. We have some sidechain compression. Okay, so all of this is our raw material for today. I have some stuff here at the bottom, like some white noise and reverse crashes. And I'll program in some, possibly maybe a clap or a tambourine pattern, as well as some drum fills to spice up our arrangement. In any case, this is a great starting point for our 40 bar track. Let's get into it. Alrighty. As I like to do, typically, not always, I consider the main stack to be the chorus or the drop or the most energetic and important section of your arrangement. So in this case, what I'm just simply going to do is copy what I had here and paste it here on this chorus section. All right, now I'm going to do this very quickly, and I also suggest you do it like this. Without being too complicated and thinking too much about it, we have an intro and an outro. So the intro, we're going to start things off. We need to build towards somewhere, someplace. So we're going to start little. We're going to start small. Then we have the verse. We're going to build up towards the chorus. That's the mountain, where if we are on an amusement park ride. The chorus is where we get to that big moment, and then we drop where we get like the big energy release. The bridge is just going to be a section with a bit of a different energy from the chorus. Maybe we bring it down completely or just give something different to the listener, right? And finally, we have the outro, where it's where we're going to release most of the energy, bring things down to a halt, and send the listener away, hopefully with a very happy and enjoyable experience. For this kind of 40 bar arrangement, what I like to do, not always, but a very good way to approach this is the intro and the outro are the same, just the opposite to each other. So if I start with, let's say, 1 or 2 elements in the intro, I like to end the same way. And if I fade things in or filter stuff in during the intro, I fade it out or filter it out during the outro. And for this kind of example, it works very well. I don't suggest like you do this on every track, right? On every full-length track or every formal track. But for the basic kata and this kind of exercise, it's always going to work very well because we just want to move quickly and get things done. And having said that, so I know that the chorus is going to be the part with the most energy. Now the verse is going to be similar, but with less stuff, all right? So let me just copy this over. And what I'm going to do is, it's going to have the same stuff as the chorus. Let's just do something different. And what I'm going to do is, this main melody part, I'm going to start filtering it in to the chorus. And just so I don't forget, let me enable track notes. Okay, so this main melody, I'm going to put filter in, just so I don't forget it, bar 28. Can't see it there, but now we can. All right, so I'm going to filter that in. That's going to be a good approach. And for the intro, we can start things off with, there's plenty of things we can do. What about, we could start with the pad, and we could start with the drums, or with the kick, the pad, and with the bass. For this one, what we could do simply is let's start with just a simple kick pattern here. Where am I? Who am I? All right, here we are. Whoops. Okay. Yeah. Well done, right? On every beat. 4 on the floor is what I wanted. Okay, exactly like that. Okay, that's gonna be our intro. And in the spirit of what I just mentioned, let me make this a tad smaller. Okay, let's end the same way. Later, we can tweak and change this, but for now, this is gonna be our plan of attack. I just wanna like throw the big rocks into our bucket and fill most of the arrangement with the big rocks, and then we'll look into the little pebbles that are gonna glue the whole thing together. So for now, it's just broad strokes. I'm making big decisions. I can change those decisions down the line, but for now, I'm just gonna stick with that. Okay, so the drum pattern here during the bridge is gonna be the same. I'm gonna have the bass on the bridge as well, and I'm gonna have a crash definitely at the start of every major section. Okay. I'm gonna have the pads, let's have the pads throughout the entire thing, and we're gonna do a couple things to change them. The main melody is only gonna be here on the chorus. For the bridge, I think I'm lacking an element for the bridge, but we'll figure that out later. And as overall stuff that I wanted to do today, okay, element, or let's say something for the bridge. I've shown you some other techniques on these kinds of videos. Today, I want to show you how to use the auto pan effect, tremolo transgate, auto filter, and show you how to create a main fader filter sweep and a main fader fade in and fade out. And some other stuff if we have the time. All right. So for now, this is what we have. We're going to start with the kick, the pad. We're going to leave this thing with the kick and the pad as well. We're going to fade in our main melody halfway through the verse. Okay, we have the bridge here. Okay, some other stuff that I'm going to leave here as placeholder, just so I don't forget, is I want some kind of tom fill, most likely here. Here, 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 and here. So for now, those are placeholders. And maybe, yeah, why not? Let's do some kind of clap pattern there. Use that clap pattern here as well. And we will need some ear candy, such as white noise and reverse crashes for these transition spots. Okay, but for now, let's see where we are. Okay, let me do a quick rundown of some of these elements. So the drums are Elise's SR16 samples that I got from a sample pack called Vintage Drums and Keys. I think it's gone around the internet for a few years. Today, I'm not using the Synthwave Dojo sample pack. I created this piece way before I had that sample pack available, so that's why I didn't use it. But in any case, these are all SR16, Elise's SR16, like from this sample pack. These are kick, snare, closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, crash, clap, it's very loud, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3, they're a little loud, we'll have to tweak them later, and a tambourine. These drums sound very real to me, like not your typical Lin or 707. All these are flavors, way different from the Simmons, from the Oberheim DMX, from the sequential circus drum tracks, from the Rolands. It's very different. Maybe similar to the Yamaha RX5 and the RX stuff, or the RY, which tends which came out later in the early 90s and sounds very, very real. I don't necessarily always like that kind of throwback retro sound of the Lins and the 707s. I use those quite often, but I also like more modern stuff like this. Okay, so these are our drums. Then our bass is a standard fat line bass kind of patch, which I use on 99.9% of my productions. There's nothing wrong with this kind of thing. And for this, I'm using Massive as the synth. And a fat line bass kind of patch that I designed myself, which is very easy, and I've shown it a lot of times. Okay, then for the main melody, it's also a massive patch that I created myself based on sawtooth waves and simple stuff. I like my synths to be based on very simple stuff. Even though I may use Massive or Pigments or some other synths that use wavetable or wave shaping or some other weird or let's say more modern kind of synthesis, I very rarely use like spectral synthesis or wavetable synthesis in the sense that I morph and wave and go from one wave to the other. Even when I use wavetable synthesizers, most of the time I just fire up the basic wavetables or wave shapes like the sines and sawtooths and the pulse width modulations. Those are like my bread and butter kind of waves. And like I said, even if I use a modern synth like that, I rarely use morphing and the true wave shaping or the wavetable, the modern stuff that they offer. I always revert back to simple subtractive synthesis concepts that you can pretty much do and reproduce with every or in any subtractive synth that you have. The pad most likely is also a massive, possibly a preset or a customized patch. When I do these kinds of challenges like the 30 and 30, or I create this main stack and I turn it into a 60 to 90 second quick and dirty arrangement piece of music, I will try to stick to one sample pack and to one synth. So in this case, I used Massive X, or Massive 10, however it's called, for all my synth parts, which in this case is just 4. All right, and I really like to do that because sometimes we feel that we need 20 different synths. Even though I have 30, maybe more synths, I'm a synth junkie. When I create these challenges, or when I do these challenges, I like to limit myself to only one synth. And when I'm creating tracks for real, I also like to limit myself to just a few synths. Because if you think of having 40 options, like you go to the ice cream parlor, whatever, and you see a menu up there with 40 different flavors, it's very hard to choose. So narrow it down to 2 or 3 or 4. And the next time you narrow it down to 2 or 3 or 4 different ones, right, from your huge stable of synths. But it's great to use those kinds of limitations. So enough of that. That's that. For white noise, I'm just you can use whatever synth you have that offers a noise oscillator. In this case, I'm just going with the Juno because it's very simple. The architecture has a noise oscillator here. And for the reverse crash, whatever crash sample you have, you just reverse it and use it. All right, so let's start. For our intro, I said that I wanted to filter in, oh no, that's something else. All right, let's work on our intro. If we start like this, it's gonna be very boring after like 4 bars. Definitely after 8 bars, something has to change inside of this. Okay, so something we're gonna do is let's do this. I'm going to my list of stuff to do. Actually, I could do it now. Okay, filter in the intro main channel. All right, let's do that. So I'm gonna head over to my console view. And here in my main channel or main fader, I'm going to add a filter. And one thing that you need to be very careful with is that as soon as you drop an effect into your main channel, you have to be very conscious of how that effect is going to change your mix or change your production. In this case, I only want the filter to be active during the intro, because if I let it be active all the time, it can change the sound of my production. So I got to be very careful with that. Of course, if you apply a mix bus compression, you want the compression to be on all the time. But with filter, it's best to automate the filter to be on and off during the parts that you want it, especially if you put it on your main channel. So be careful with that. And what I want to do very simply is, okay, so here it's like halfway closed and it is set to a low pass filter, which is exactly what I want. I want to start like somewhere here, like this, and automate this kind of movement, like fading it into the light, fading it into existence with the filter. Okay, maybe like this. I'm just gonna press a keyboard combination on my keyboard, and that's gonna create the automation channels in Studio One for my main fader. All right. So here's the thing. I'm gonna create a node here, and I'm gonna pull, not what I wanted, this. And I'm gonna pull this up because I don't want the filter to affect the rest of the production. I only want to ramp this up or filter in during the intro. And here's where you need to tweak and experiment with the, let's say, the curve or the shape of this fade in, because it could be linear. We could do it logarithmic and exponential like this. It filters in quickly, or like this, it filters in towards the end. So you gotta experiment and find which one you like. And also you gotta be careful with your starting point, because if you start like way at the bottom like this, it's gonna take a very long while until the track gets filtered in. And by that point, we're almost like halfway through the intro and nothing has happened for a few seconds. So, and if you start like too high, it's like you've painted yourself into a corner, because like there's not enough time to experience, or not enough room to experience the effect. So you got to find the best place to start from, and then tweak the curve. Maybe, I'm not sure, like this. Yeah, I definitely want the elements to be filtered in sooner rather than later. Cool. And like I said at the beginning, let's do a bookend strategy, meaning we're gonna end this thing the same way that we started. And this is how we do it. Oops. So this curve, I'll tweak it later. Yeah. I'm not sure if I want it faster or shorter, so I'm gonna leave it like that. We'll come back to it later. Okay, so this is our intro. Okay, I've already done this. Okay. And like I mentioned, let's automate this filter being activated on and off. Okay, in my DAW, it's not the on button, the bypass switch. Okay, so again, I hit a keyboard combination and voila, I got my lane created. You have to figure out how to do these kinds of things in your DAW. They all can do it, but it's just different. Okay, so here, it's inactive. Let me activate it then. Like so. Okay. Okay, then we do the same thing here. And bring it down. Possibly here I want it faster. And maybe even I want it to drop further down than the starting side. Maybe not so much. Cool. We'll tweak that later. Awesome. Great stuff, my friends. So with that out of the way, we have our intro and our outro. Let's see what else we can do here. Okay, the other stuff that we said was that I want to filter in. Okay, so after the intro, we need to smoothen the transition with a tom fill and some other stuff. Let's do this. Come here to the main melody. Okay, that's gone. Here we're gonna use again the same Filter Shaper XL. This is a great plugin by Cable Guys that just came out, and I think it's still on a the coming out sale or something, like for 30 or 40 euro or dollars. It's a great plugin. Okay, here. And I want to filter it in, also using a low-pass filter. Okay, maybe this one we can give it a little bit more resonance. Okay, great. Let's start it here at the top. Okay, there we go. This is my filter, and here it's completely open. And let's automate it to ramp up or to fade in. And I don't want to filter it in too soon. I want to leave it just a little bit towards the end like that. Cool, that will work. And because that filter, like I mentioned, has, I bumped up the resonance and some other stuff, I also only want it to be active during that part. I don't want it to be active all the time. So I'm going to create the automation lane for the bypass. Okay, here it's in an off state. want here to be on. You can check here, this light tells me that it's on, as opposed to here, red, it's off. All right. Maybe the resonance is a little high. Okay, that's that. So we have our main melody being filtered into the chorus or main section. That's great. Let's see what else I know. Let me write down here. We need tom fills. We need ear candy for transitions. All right. Let's now focus our attention on drum fills, just so it starts sounding a little bit more together. And I'm just going to do very simple stuff. Again, I don't want to or try to come up with the bestest drum fills anyone has ever heard. I just want something that works in our context and that I'm happy with. Simple as that. Okay, let me just see where we are. Okay, bar 23. All right. Okay, let's do something simple. Something like that. 16th notes. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. I don't need to go crazy with it. Let me just check the levels. Okay, that's fine. And I have them panned 51% left, center, and 52% right. Pretty much the same thing. What I'm going to do here is just create a group fader or a VCA fader in Studio One, just so I can control the level of my toms from one fader. Okay, cool. And I want to create an effects track or return track or aux track specifically for the toms reverb. Effects channel in Studio One. I'm going to call this toms verb. And I'm going to send from all of these drums. Let me get rid of the send that I had there before to the toms verb. Just checking that all my drums faders are going into the bus drums. Okay. And with this toms verb, I'm going to fire up a plugin that I like very much. It's called 80s Spaces. And I'm just going to find some kind of toms preset that I like. Mr. Collins, 80s toms, Disco Phil. There's a lot of really great stuff here. 80s toms, or how about Phil toms? Okay, the gate is too quick. Let's open it up a little bit. Yeah, I like it like that. That'll work. Broad strokes, broad strokes. We're not getting too much of a perfectionist here. Let's keep going. Let's give these toms just a little bit more reverb. Maybe. Yeah, I like it like that. Maybe it's not perfect. We can tweak it later. Right now, and let me do this. I'm going to reuse. Just do something simple for today. I'm going to create only 2 drum fills, and I'm going to reuse the first one here and here, and create another here and reuse it here. In the interest of time, and because if you've seen it once, it's like you've seen it 1,000 times. This one, I wanted to have a little bit of syncopation, playing the offbeats. Okay, what about... Boom, 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 boom. Bum, 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 ba, bum, dum, bum, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, dum, dum, ba, bum, dum, dum, ba, bum, dum. Like that. Yeah, I like it. It'll work. Not perfect, but it doesn't matter. Sounds good to me. Just for visual identification purposes, let me turn this into a different color. This is something that I like to do. I like to color code my tracks overall, like my drums blue, bass red, the synths some other color. I've shown them pink, etc. And sometimes inside the same track, if I use a different color for a clip like this, it means that it's not the same information. I could name the clip differently, but at this kind of zoom, I can't tell. If I were to name this like Tom Fill 1 and this one Tom Fill 2, I would have to scroll in every time just to see which Tom Fill it is. So with this, using a different color, I don't need to read which one it is. I just copy it over and know exactly what Tom Fill I am using. Cool, so we have our Tom Fills. We got that down. Something for the bridge, ear candy for transitions. I want to show you some of these techniques. Okay, let's see. Okay, I have crashes here and there. Let's work very quickly on getting a clap, some kind of clap pattern in here to bump up the energy. Let's keep going. And for this, drum view, clap, clap, clap. Exactly that is what I'm gonna do. Like a 2 rhythm part. You can think of it as a motif, like I've been talking about for ages now when it comes to melodies. So it's gonna be like a 2-part. This melodic clap is gonna have 2 motifs. Like that. And I want them to be like like that. Like every other bar. Okay, so it's gonna be like an 8-bar pattern. Or 4-bar. 4-bar pattern. And this one I want it to be different. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, just like that. Nope. Let's send it to our drums reverb. I just want it to be like a splash of white noise. Yeah, maybe like that. Some rhythm with delay. Yeah, I think this will work well. I just want it there as a kind of a background element, like not in our face. Okay, so we have the claps, we have the toms, we have the crashes. I'm not gonna create a tambourine pattern. What else are we missing from the drums? I don't think we're missing anything. Okay. Something for the bridge, ear candy, transitions. Let's work on that. Then we'll work on creating using some of these techniques and tools. Possibly for the bridge. All right. So let's see. During the intro, let's do some standard techniques. Tried and true techniques that you don't necessarily always have to use, right? But they're great techniques to have available. Okay, so here's a lowly crash. Okay, whatever sample is fine. Just going to reverse it. And I'm gonna edit it just to bring it in just a little bit. Okay, hold on. Okay, snapping off. Okay, cool. And definitely we want it to ramp up like this. Okay, this will work. And okay, but I also want this thing to have some reverb. Okay, you can hear my computer crackling because if I'm live streaming. That puts a lot of strain on my CPU while creating all these effects and automation and stuff. So we'll see. I don't think it's gonna get too bad, but just bear with me if it does. And simply what I will do is drop this at every major intersection, fork in the road, or section transition. Like that. We'll tweak the volume later. So that here. Here and here. Okay, that'll work just fine. that'll work. And for fun, we can also enable some delay. Cool. Yeah, I like it like this. All right, we got that. I think for now, let me forget about the white noise and bring down the level of the Tom's verb just a little bit. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so we have that reverse crash there. I feel like we're missing something here, but I'll tackle that later. I want this filter sweep to come in sooner. It's starting like too late in the game. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, for the bridge, I'm still missing some kind of element to give us something different on the bridge, but let's do something fun here with our pad. Some of the things that I wanted to try out were autopan, tremolo, transgate, autofilter. Let's do... What if we tried something that kills two birds with one stone, like filter shaper, something that has a little bit of movement and is also rhythmic. Okay, for example, motion wobble character, rhythmic. Did I even drop this in the right place? Possibly I didn't select anything, just a category. Yeah. Duh. That's a little too crazy. Okay, let's see. I think this will work. So it's creating a rhythm and moving the kata based on this rhythm. That'll work. And of course, I don't want this to be active all the time, only where I want it to. Possibly we'll have to automate the volume of the pad. Because now it's a little low. And that's the kind of thing that happens as you automate stuff and work on your arrangement. Sometimes it's a game of whack-a-mole. You fix one thing or you introduce a new variable into the equation, and some other stuff needs to be adjusted or accounted for. Okay, cool. And okay, so I showed you here how to use, this is a kind of auto filter. Let's try a main fader filter sweep just for kicks. And some of this, of course, trying to use all the techniques known to man could be overkill for a real track. You have to dose and ration the things that you're using so it doesn't sound gimmicky. But here, just in the interest of showing what you can do and how you can work a 40 bar arrangement like this, we're doing it in an hour. To really do it, you could spend maybe 2 or 3 hours doing it, right, with more calm and a better selection of moves or things you're doing. For now, I'm just trying to do things very quickly and give you options. And still, this wouldn't be what I would consider a fully done and finished main kata. This is just like a speed run of a main kata. Okay, what I want to do is then we had main fader, we had a filter. What I'm going to do is towards the end of this section here, let's see if we can create a filter sweep. So here, it should be on, or off rather. Let me enable it, and let's do something. Now I want something to happen much more abruptly. You can hear my computer there kind of complaining about that. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, for the purpose of this example, this will work just fine. And moves like this, you could spend ages tweaking just to get it right. I'm gonna leave it like that. I think it'll work just fine. Okay, so that was a main fader filter sweep. Auto pan, tremolo, transgate, we still need just a little bit of transition smoothing and something for the bridge. I think I'm happy with the bridge. We need something a little extra, I'm not sure what. Let me get rid of the automation lanes. So visually, things aren't that cluttered. Okay, we have reverse crashes, we have the tom fills between the transitions. We still need something for the bridge, but let me see how the transition from bridge to outro feels. Okay, so definitely here. You know what? Let's do this. Cool. Okay, nice. That's that. Let's work on the bridge for a couple of minutes before we call this a day or night. Maybe the melody could do something here, maybe like a couple of notes. Exactly that. I'm gonna call this... It's not really... It's not like a real arpeggio. And anyway, I'm gonna call it ARP. And let's see where we were. I'm not gonna play that the interest of time. Ba, 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 ba. Or eighth notes, I think. I was doing... Okay, alternating between an interval and what I call a home note or bass note. So I would call this a rooted arpeggio. Rooted manual arpeggio. Works like a charm, my friends. And this is where, let's do auto pan. Many ways to do this, but you gotta know your tools and know exactly if you need to auto pan something, what to use. This is a stock PreSonus plugin used for tremolo, which is not the same thing. Okay, tremolo is kind of like a transcade as well. You can create stuff like that. Or create other rhythmic patterns. More choppy or less choppy. Okay, this is set to tremolo mode. I'm gonna set it to pan now. that's too fast. Yeah, something like this will work. And it's too deep. It's like too drastic. I want the movement to be perceived, not so obvious. Yeah, I think like this will work. Cool. And of course, I don't want this effect to be on all the time. So I also have to automate the bypass switch. And you know what? Maybe I also do this during the outro. And just keep it going. One final thing during the bridge, I don't need this main melody to be so loud, so I'm going to automate the volume. And this is what I say when you get into these kinds of details, like creating every section, thinking of it as a scene in a movie where you move the actors around, you shine different lights and different angles and camera shots like wide angle lens and close-up shots and that kind of thing. That's where you spend a lot of your arrangement time creating this kind of ear candy. So maybe here during this bridge, I will bring this down like 2.5 dB. But make it louder once we get into the outro. Okay, cool. I think that'll work just fine. So we did an auto pan. We don't have enough time for a tremolo, but actually kind of the tremolo effect I showed you and on the filter that what am I filtering? The pad has kind of like a transgate auto filter and tremolo at the same time with that rhythmic effect. And the main fader, fade in, fade out. I'm not going to show that because I showed you how to automate the filter on the main fader, so it's kind of the same thing. Something for the bridge, we already did this. Ear candy for transitions. I think for this example, we're good. Like I said, to really make this a complete basic kata, I would spend at least another hour or two, because once you start creating these tiny details, some more ideas come to mind. Like for example, on the outro, I thought, okay, what if I sent the main melody to a reverb? Like I started increasing the send to the reverb and maybe with more delay, so it feels like it's going like into the background. Okay, that would take me some time to create. And then if I do that, there's another thing that I would like to do. And again, just for the interest of today's example, I think we're in a pretty great spot. Let me just do a very quick visual analysis of where we are and what we have before we listen to this entire thing top to bottom. Okay, we have our sections, the bass, starting with the drums, the synths, the pads, the main melody, all very simple stuff. So yeah, I think we're ready. We're ready, Freddy. So I'm gonna play this thing top to bottom. Let me show the automation. And we'll take a listen and then come back and wrap things up. Here we go. Okay, great. As I was listening to the intro, I'm still missing some stuff here, but that's fine for today. I definitely felt like I needed some kind of clap or something like an accent here. Yeah, that'll work. Nice. Alrighty. Excellent, my friends. This is all that I had for today. Let me see if there are any questions here in the chat. I see people enjoying the show. It's always fun to make these kinds of speed runs where you go through techniques and create music and arrange music live on the spot. And you see that I make mistakes. I paint myself into the corner sometimes, and I need to fight my way out of the this battle, this fight that I got myself into. But it's all part of the learning process. And again, the more that you do this, the more trained and the more skills you have. So you're gonna be better at duking it out with resistance. In any case, experiment with all the techniques that I showed you today. Practice creating main stacks, and once you're bored because your main stacks are sounding good, then practice turning those main stacks or 8-bar loops into 40-bar tracks or arrangements like I showed you. And again, this is just 1 hour. It could take me 2 or 3 hours to really get this going to where it's at a point where I really like it and I would call it finished. I just scratched the surface here of all that I could do in 40 bars and get good at creating 40-bar arrangements like this with all the automation, the effects, etc. Then graduate to 80 bars, and once you get good with 80 bars, then you're ready to tackle full-length tracks. If you've never produced any kind of music before and you attempt to go from 8-bar loop to full-length track, you're going to crash and burn, be very frustrated, it's going to be very painful. Do this kind of a stepping stone approach that I'm showing you, this gated stage approach, to develop your skills to where you can run longer distances, such as a marathon. Like I like to say, you can't go from couch potato to marathon in a month, right? You got to keep running longer distances until you're a point where your body, your mind, your heart, you are ready to run the marathon. Same thing with this example. Alrighty, I hope you guys found this useful. As always, let me know if you have any questions or comments, and keep synthwaving. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, my friends.